Watch this every day and change your life. Most people wait for life to change. They wait for the job, the person, the breakthrough. But life doesn't change because you wait. It changes when you change. And change doesn't happen in one loud moment. It happens quietly every day through repetition, through awareness, through choice. Watch this once and it will inspire you. Watch this every day and it will rewire you. Because the truth is simple, the world around you cannot transform until you do. Every morning you wake up with one quiet but critical decision: repeat your past or rise into your future. That moment before the world rushes in, before you scroll, before you speak is not ordinary. It's sacred. It's the clean slate that most people treat like it's nothing. They wake up and instantly hand that moment over to the noise. They check messages before they check their breath. They scroll before they sit. They react before they reflect. And without realizing it, they're not living, they're reliving. They're not building, they're repeating. Every day looks like the last because they never stopped long enough to break the cycle. And so their habits become autopilot. Their thoughts become borrowed, and their life becomes a slow echo of everything they've already done. This is why most people stay stuck, not because they lack ambition, but because they lack a ritual. They wake up and hope something changes without ever changing the first hour that determines everything. But the truth is, the gap between discipline and destruction is razor thin. It's one choice, one breath, 1 hour. That's all it takes to shift momentum. 1 hour of alignment before the chaos can create the clarity that reroutes your entire direction. And that clarity compounds, slowly, silently, powerfully. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in the small, consistent wins that start to build trust between who you are now and who you know you can become. When you take that hour and dedicate it to yourself, not to ego, not to escape, but to alignment, you change the trajectory of your day. And when you change enough days, you change your life. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. You stop following energy and start generating it. You stop giving your attention to the loudest voice in the room and start feeding it the voice you chose, the energy you chose, the direction you chose. That's where transformation begins, not in emotion, but in structure. In the repeatable decision to train your mind before the world tries to claim it. That's why this moment, this message, this breath cannot be a one-time spark. It must be a ritual, not when it's convenient, not when you feel motivated, daily, relentlessly, with reverence, because repetition is what builds identity, and identity is what shapes behavior. You don't rise by willpower, you rise by programming, by choosing what enters your mind when it's most open, when it's most impressionable. And that's always the morning, before the emails, before the noise, before the world begins asking for pieces of you. That's when you must train. That's when you must decide who you are and remind yourself until it becomes real. If you want to change your actions, don't start with behavior. Start with environment. Start with input. Start with what you consume when your defenses are down and your spirit is listening. Give it strength. Give it purpose. Give it silence. And then over time it will give you back a new identity. One that doesn't need to try harder because it no longer identifies with weakness. One that doesn't fear slipping because its standards have already shifted. If you want to change your future, change what you repeat, not what you dream about, not what you talk about, what you do. And what you do consistently becomes who you are. No matter how far off course you've been, no matter how many days you've wasted, you're always one morning away from reclaiming the path. But you must start now. You must protect the hour that builds your future self, not someday, not when you feel ready. Now, the world will never stop demanding your attention. But if you give yourself to yourself first every day, you won't just keep up. You'll lead, you'll create, you'll rise. People often say, I want peace, I want confidence, I want focus. But these are not things you find by accident. They're not things someone can hand to you. They don't come through quotes, through luck, through a sudden shift in mood. They're not rewards that show up when the timing feels right. They are built, earned, trained like muscle. And like muscle, they only grow through resistance. Peace isn't something you stumble into, it's forged in silence. Not just outer silence, but inner silence. The kind of silence you protect, the kind you fight for, the the kind you build boundaries around so you can hear your own breath again. You don't get peace by hoping for less chaos. You get peace by becoming the kind of person who isn't ruled by chaos. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It doesn't magically appear when life goes well. It's something you earn slowly, quietly, by keeping your promises to yourself. Every time you say, "I will do this," and then you do it, you send a message to your subconscious: "I am someone I can count on." That's where confidence is built. Not in applause, not in external validation, but in the small decisions you repeat when no one is watching. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. Real confidence shows up in how you walk into a room without explanation, in how you respond instead of react, in how you lead, not with noise, but with certainty. That certainty comes from trust, and trust comes from consistency. Focus too is not gifted, it's trained. It's not about feeling motivated or having the perfect environment. It's about cutting the noise again and again, every day, until your mind finally starts to understand that you won't chase every distraction anymore, that you won't check every notification, that you won't let your attention be hijacked by people who don't value it. You train your mind like a dog. You teach it to sit, stay, return. And at first it resists, it runs wild, but over time it obeys, it begins to settle. And from that stillness, your work becomes deeper, your thoughts become clearer, your presence becomes undeniable. These are not talents, they are disciplines. And discipline doesn't show up when you feel good. It doesn't care about emotion. It shows up every day, in the repetition, in the structure. In the morning you didn't want to get up, but you did. In the evening you wanted to quit, but you pushed through. Discipline is not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it is powerful. Because when you build it, you begin to shape a life that's no longer at the mercy of your feelings. You must understand this truth. Every single day you are being programmed, either by the world or by yourself. There is no neutral state. There is no off. Everything you consume, everything you listen to, everything you watch, everything you scroll past, it's writing code into your mind. It's shaping your thoughts. It's defining your focus. It's forming your self-worth. And if you do nothing, if you passively let the world write that code, the world wins. The ads win. The drama wins. The gossip wins. The noise becomes your soundtrack. And eventually, you don't even know where your desires came from. You don't even know what peace feels like, because your entire system has been built by what surrounds you. But you can break that. You can take it back. It won't happen in one day. It won't happen by accident. But it will happen if you commit. Every morning, choose to plug into something that sharpens you, not numbs you. Something that reminds you of who you are, not who the world wants you to be. Something that quiets the noise and turns up the clarity. Wisdom is not hidden, it's just drowned. But you can return to it. You can build a morning ritual that filters your mind before the world fills it. You can create a space that feeds your direction before the distractions arrive. And when you do that daily, when that becomes your structure, everything changes. You don't chase peace, you walk in it. You don't fake confidence, you radiate it. You don't beg for focus, you live from it. Because you didn't wait for those things to show up. You built them, like a craftsman, like a warrior, like a man who knows that the world may be loud, but he's louder inside. You were not born to be overwhelmed. That constant sense of urgency, fatigue, and chaos that so many people wear like a second skin, it's not your natural state. It's a symptom of drift, of neglect. You were not built to be distracted. Your mind wasn't designed to chase 20 things at once. Your soul wasn't wired to be split across endless tabs, texts, and trivial decisions. And yet, that's how most people live. Scattered, exhausted, numb. Not because they're weak, but because they've forgotten how to be still. They've forgotten how to listen. They've forgotten the power that returns when you stop giving your life to noise and start reclaiming it through discipline. You were not created to feel powerless in your own mind. You were built for clarity, for strength, for awareness. That fog you feel, that anxiety, that pressure, those are the results of letting the world program you before you program yourself. It happens slowly. You stop choosing yourself. You stop carving time for silence. You skip the morning stillness. You trade presence for performance. And over time, your inner structure begins to rot. Not because something is wrong with you, but because anything neglected decays. When you stop showing up for your mind starts working against you. When you stop giving your nervous system space to breathe, it starts gasping for control. When you stop creating your day intentionally, the day begins to own you. But here's the thing, decay is not the end. It's a signal. It's an invitation to return, to come back to yourself. And the doorway is simpler than most think. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You need to sit down with yourself every day, even if just for 5 minutes, with no phone, no noise, just breathe, just stillness. That's where the reconnection begins. Your spine straightens not from ego, but from remembrance. You breathe deeper not because it's trendy, but because you finally allowed space for your body to soften. Your thoughts begin to quiet not because life got easier, but because you stopped feeding the frenzy. And slowly, something ancient stirs inside you. A presence, a groundedness, a clarity. And you begin to remember, I am not my fear. I am not my failures. I am not the anxious voice looping in my head. I am the observer. I am the one who chooses how to respond. That realization isn't small. It's the reset. It's the root of sovereignty. The beginning of real power. Because the moment you remember you have a choice, the world loses its grip on you. That is the key. You cannot control the world. You never could. But you can control how you meet it. You can control how you show up to chaos. How you hold your frame in the middle of storms. You can control your posture, how you sit, how you stand, how you move with presence instead of panic. You can control your words when you speak, how you speak, and whether you speak from emotion or clarity. You can control your habits, what you do when no one is watching, how you use your first hour, what you give your energy to. These aren't just small wins. These are your anchor. Your rituals become your reminder that you are not lost. You are building something even when no one sees it. And when you do this, when you take that control back, when you live from presence instead of pressure, life begins to shift. Life begins to respect you. Not in a mystical, magical way, but practically. You show up to conversations with more gravity. You walk into rooms and people feel something different, not louder, not flashier, just deeper. Your habits begin to speak for you. Your energy begins to communicate who you are before you say a word. Opportunities start to move toward you not because you begged for them, but because you became someone who's ready. People begin to trust you not because you forced it, but because your discipline now carries the weight your words once tried to fake. This is the power of return, the power of quiet structure, the power of showing up for yourself not once, not when it's easy, but every day. If you can do that, even in the smallest window of time, you begin to reclaim the very thing the world is trying to steal from you, your presence. And presence is power, not loud, not aggressive, but unshakable. Now let me give you the most important truth, the one that most people overlook while chasing complexity, while jumping from one insight to the next, from one motivational hit to the next. Here it is, life does not change when you understand something once. It changes when you remember it every single day. You don't evolve from one powerful quote. You don't transform from one emotional video. The human mind doesn't work that way. The nervous system doesn't work that way. Change is not an event, it's a layering, a wiring, a groove that gets deeper and stronger through repetition. That's why monks repeat mantras. That's why warriors run the same drills again and again. That's why musicians rehearse the same scale until their fingers don't have to think. It's not because they're slow. It's because they understand something most people don't. Mastery is not built by inspiration. It's built by ritual. Wisdom that is not revisited becomes dust. Knowledge that is not reinforced becomes noise. If you want to change the direction of your life, don't chase more information. Choose one truth and burn it into your system through repetition. This is why your morning matters. This is why what you listen to in the first 10 minutes after waking matters. Because that window, when your brain is open, when your subconscious is listening, when your body is waking, that is when reprogramming happens. Most people waste that window. They check notifications. They open the floodgates of distraction. They scroll through images that trigger comparison, opinions that ignite emotion, noise that fractures attention. And then they wonder why their focus is gone before noon, why they're overwhelmed before breakfast. But it's not the world's fault. It's a lack of structure. It's a lack of ritual. One message repeated daily will do more for your mindset than 100 random inputs consumed unconsciously. The question is, which message are you repeating? Is it intentional? Is it aligned? Is it yours? If you repeat this message, this presence, this discipline, this mindset every morning, something powerful begins to happen. Your brain stops treating it like a motivational moment and starts treating it like a command. You are no longer trying to be focused, you are focused. You are no longer reminding yourself to stay on track, you simply stop drifting. Because you trained yourself to return. You trained your mind to seek silence before stimulation, to seek purpose before pleasure, to seek clarity before action. And from that place, your behavior begins to change. Not because you're forcing it, but because it has become your baseline. Eventually, you won't need reminders to be disciplined. You will act that way without negotiation, not because you're faking it, but because you've taught your body to follow your direction, not your distraction. You won't need to hype yourself up to stay focused. You'll simply value your energy too much to scatter it. That's what happens when repetition replaces randomness. Your nervous system gets familiar with peace. Your mind starts to trust your word. Your habits begin to reinforce your identity, and from that identity, you start showing up differently in every area of life. Your speech slows down, your reactions become calmer, your planning becomes sharper. You start walking like someone who isn't begging for direction because you've already chosen yours. That is real freedom, not perfection, not the illusion of always being in control, but the reality of being present enough to choose your next step, to recognize when you're off course and correct it, to notice when your energy is leaking and pull it back, to wake up and instead of being pulled by the world, you center yourself before the world even speaks. That freedom doesn't come from talent, it doesn't come from emotion. It comes from what you allow into your mind every single day, what you listen to, what you read, what you meditate on. That becomes your internal voice, that becomes your compass. And if you do it with discipline, it becomes your edge. You want to live different? Think different repeatedly. You want to build clarity? Feed it consistently. You want to embody discipline? Repeat the process until it becomes identity. That's the doorway. Not more, but deeper. Not louder, but clearer. The man who controls his inputs will control his direction. And the man who controls his direction doesn't need more motivation because he has become it. So if this message speaks to you, don't just listen once. Don't let it be a passing feeling that fades the moment the world gets loud again. Let it return, let it root, let it become part of your wiring. Because the truth is, repetition is how the brain learns to trust. Not once, not sometimes, every single day. Come back to this message. Make it your alarm, not just for your phone, but for your mind. Play it in the morning before the world grabs you. Let it be the soundtrack of your stillness. Let it shape your first thoughts, your first breath, your first decision. This isn't about hype. It's about precision, about programming, about replacing the scattered voices of fear, distraction, doubt, and pressure with one voice, one tone, one rhythm, a voice that is focused, clear, grounded, until that voice becomes your own. This is how internal transformation happens, not by chasing 100 different messages, but by choosing one and repeating it until it becomes part of your nervous system, until your default setting is discipline, until your self-talk is no longer emotional noise, but quiet strength. And you don't need to announce it. You don't need to post about it. You just live it. You walk into your day with structure while everyone else is still scrolling. You keep your word while others negotiate with their feelings. You focus while others react. And slowly, your results begin to change. Your confidence starts to feel real. Your energy becomes respected, not because you asked for it, but because you've become someone who leads without needing attention. This is the new standard: quiet, committed, relentless. So if that's what you're building, subscribe. Stay close, stay sharp, because this space is built for people who don't just want motivation but structure. If you're serious about building your mornings around clarity, building your identity through daily action, and mastering your energy before the world touches it, then the next level is below. It's not about more hype, it's about more depth, a system, a rhythm, a return, every single day. Not for attention, but for alignment. Repeat this message, let it hit your nervous system. Let it be your reminder when your discipline fades. Let it speak for you on the days when your own voice feels shaky. And with time, you won't need the message anymore because you will have become it. Repeat it, live it, train it, and watch how your entire life begins to change quietly, powerfully, completely.